What is up, PFL Nation? It's your boy, John Smith. We are live with Season 2 of In the Booth. And of course, I got my right hand man with me, the new quarterback for Oklahoma, Mr. Austin Briley. Say what's up, bro.
What's up, everybody? Glad to be back. Huge second season. It was a lot of fun last year, so looking forward to getting to it again this year.
Yeah, man, it's going to be an absolute blast. Thank you again for coming on, being my co host. I really appreciate it. I love the way you and I just kind of bounce back and forth. And for those who are new to the PFL, we got a whole bunch of new people. This is basically a weekly podcast where we're going to go over the games from the previous week. We have changed the day just kind of because of the fact that we're trying to do more live games for you guys. We are going to be pushing these out on Sunday. I kind of like that format, to be honest with you. Just talk about the upcoming week slate and review the previous week of games. So, hope you guys like the new time. Hope you like the new setup. This week it's just me on the cam, but soon we're going to have Austin as well. So, we're going to kind of have that back and forth, and you guys will be able to see it a little bit more visually. But yeah, man, we're leveling up in the booth. Season 2, man. It doesn't get any better than this. And I mean, Austin, I think it's time to jump right into our first game, which was Alabama versus Notre Dame, where Notre Dame came out against the defending champs and laid some hurt, man. KJ Smith, DJ Watts looked incredible. Absolutely carried in this one. It was super exciting to watch. And this Notre Dame team, man, Austin, you think this is for real, or you think this is just early season? A little bit of jitters from the defending champs.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it was a little bit of jitters from the champs, but wow, I guess good for Notre Dame. Shout out to my boys that are over there now because I know they don't like Alabama, and so that must have felt had them feeling some type of way. But yeah, congratulations to Notre Dame for an outstanding first week victory. Definitely makes me a little nervous going into this next week for my player. But yeah, you never know what Madden's gonna pull out of the hat. And this week
Nope.
it was a ultra huge win for Notre Dame, and Zeke's happy, and all is well.
Yeah, man, they gotta love that result. You know, they're coming in big, making a statement to start this year, and I've definitely got Notre Dame on my watch list. I mean, we talked about them all last year. Obviously, they have a very different squad now, but Zeke went out and recruited like a madman, and it's showing in that first game right away. You know, so I'm really looking forward to what they're doing on the other side of the ball. Alabama, honestly, Carson Young didn't play bad at all. Chang Lei did his thing. I don't know why it says running back there. Chang Lei is not the running back for Alabama. Of course, that's
There's
Kamani
still some
Bradley.
kinks in the system. We're
Uh huh.
working on it.
Uh huh. You see K Grad right below that, who's also not a quarterback. So we're fixing. We got new graphics. We're still sorting them out. But I think Bama overall looked fine. I know Coach Willis is going to go ahead and continue to make adjustments. Honestly, this could be just championship hangover. I'm excited to see what they do going into week 2. But you got to tip your hat to Notre Dame. This is a huge victory for them, and obviously they're taking advantage of that. They got to be feeling good going into their locker room. So that's our first game of the week knocked out. And now we got to move on to our second, which is going to be Oregon versus Ole Miss, where Oregon, man, honestly, even though the score is an 11-point difference, I feel like Oregon had control over this game the entire way through. AB, talk to the people. How do you feel about this one? Do you agree? Do you feel like this was just Oregon's game to win and they went out and did it? Or how are you feeling about it?
I think Oregon was gonna come out and do this. It's a little bittersweet because I didn't like what was going on. And that's why I left there.
Right.
But good news is they did find a replacement. They got a guy who comes in here and gets it done when he's expected to. Because honestly, you really are expected to in this situation with this team being the way they are now, with all the
Yep.
transfers leaving and being in their places and whatnot. And so, um, but yeah, I'm not sure that Zhang was set to have a huge performance. I don't really know who Ole Miss has anymore, except for maybe Riggs.
Yep.
And Oregon has Wade still, who had a big performance like he always will. And Tamar did his thing too. And so, balanced game, not a lot to say.
Yeah. I mean, I think Oregon went out and handled their business, just like you said. Ole Miss is obviously in a rebuild type of year. They've got a lot of, how do I put this, retooled pieces on their team versus who they lost in the transfer portal. So I think this is just kind of Oregon came out and did what they needed to do. I feel like Ole Miss is gonna struggle to get out of that 18th spot. To be honest with you, this year, obviously a bunch of teams started 0-1, but I would be surprised if their ranking moved. AZ and company looked like they were struggling, and I know Coach Jewell and them are gonna want to see bigger things out of that team. So we will have to see as it goes throughout the season, to be honest. But Oregon, obviously that coach, hot seated coach, so a big deal for Coach Brooks to come out there
Cincy,
and get a victory.
Cincy, 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 Cincy.
So it's a big deal to see him come out with a victory. Obviously, he needs one more to secure his spot, so I'm sure he's going to be hungry for that coming into week 2. And with that, let's move on to our third game of the week, which was UCLA against Florida. We got our first look at Bosco James. We got our first look at Coach Branson. We got which is is my co-host here. We got our first look at a brand new team to CS3. But UCLA said we don't give a damn about your exciting story, your brand new running back, your brand new coach, your brand new team. We're gonna come out here and handle business. Casey Robinson, superstar, looked great, handled his business. Moreno obviously was his go-to target, though Kadar had himself a heck of a game as well. On the Florida side, Corey Baines threw the ball 47 times, which Coach Branson, I'm sure we're going to hear about here in a second as far as that game plan goes. I feel like you got to be getting a little bit more run involved. I'm sure you heard that when I was talking about the game, but overall, I think Florida, obviously, they scored really, really late. I actually think that was one of the final plays of the game, if I'm remembering correctly. So the score is a little bit crazier here. But, UCLA came out and handled business. Since this is your team, Coach, I will let you speak publicly here. How do you feel this game went for your first game, here in the PFL?
All right, I'm gonna try to not make this weird. Um, so the reason why this happened, I think too, is because we were pushing the most for Bosco. I think I was texting him every single day,
Yep.
every single morning, wishing him well, doing all that good stuff. And we had already decided on a playbook before we had Bosco, and I made the mistake of thinking that that playbook would still work with Bosco there because
Got it.
of the running that I had seen in the scrimmage against Georgia.
Sure.
And so what ended up happening is now we have a different scheming or different schemed back that's in there, which is why he didn't do as well as Bowman does. And now we're just stuck with it for 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once 4 weeks comes around, I mean, we have a tougher schedule. I don't think we're going to be one of the best teams this year. We're just trying to get what we can. Uh, Around week 4 and stuff, we'll have a better idea and come out probably a lot more heated up. Doesn't mean we won't necessarily win before then, but we're just really looking forward to getting that playbook change in so we can get things right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, my own opinion, obviously, my team is coming up next, and we lost as well. These young teams coming into the league, you really have to think, okay, let's see how we look now, but let's really judge us, mid-season, late season. I feel like for any of the new teams, a playoff push is really like a Super Bowl, right? That is the national championship if you're even knocking on the door of the playoffs as a brand new team coming in, because we know the PFL was 3 seasons deep and we have some stacked teams. We got a lot of action, a lot of good teams, and only 8 playoff spots. So it's a battle, right? It's a battle to get up there. So I think you have a great outlook on it, Coach. I think that's the right way to look at it. And I just got to say, make sure Corey's not throwing 50 times a game, and you'll probably be in a better spot overall. So I'm excited to see once you get that playbook and scheme change in. And, as a coach, obviously I know you're going to game plan adjust a bit. Maybe just try to get a little bit more conservative. That's, what I'm going to be doing as well for mine.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. With that, let's go ahead and jump over to my game here. Extremely low scoring, one of the lowest scorings in PFL history. I got to give shout outs to both defenses here. UGA's defense, very solid, shut us down 100%. And honestly, my own defense, very young defense, but handled their business. They didn't allow a single touchdown. We were in it until the very end. Robbie had a shot, the final drive of the game, but threw a pick on the final drive. So had his opportunities. And again, we I think have the most freshmen on a squad in the PFL. So with the week 2 change, allowing week 2 freshmen to upgrade after next week's game, I really feel like you can't really judge our team until week 3. Not to mention the fact that we don't have our starting running back in Sean Landry. He's not going to be able to come in until week 4. So I have big expectations for us in week 3 and week 4, but otherwise, I think these first 2 weeks are just kind of going to be feeling things out. AB, did you watch this game? Obviously, it was kind of a snooze fest, so I get, you're not on either of these teams. The investment probably wasn't there, but just want to get your thoughts if you managed to catch any of this one.
I mean, I saw a little tiny bit of it. I was at work when this was going on, and so I didn't get to catch most of it. But yeah, I don't really have too much to say about it other than it's not what I expected. I
Yeah.
really thought that unless it was like in the rain, was it in the rain or
No,
was
nope, no rain.
it okay? Unless it was in the rain, I figured this would be a game where Ohio State would kind of just be Ohio State and trump the team that's not good anymore. But I mean, I wouldn't hold your heads on this one. I definitely see you guys moving further in the season than Georgia, and
Yep.
so I mean, y'all can bring all the smoke that you want. I could really give two shits.
I think Coach Woods, will definitely have something to say about that. I'm not going to count out UGA. Big respect to Coach Woods. Obviously, after the game, him and I chatted a little bit, paid our dues, but he came out with a really good game plan. I have to give his defensive game plan credit. He came out really solid. I think that young QB, I think Sean Henry's got a lot of potential, just like my own young QB. I like seeing all these young QBs go out and do their thing. So I think Georgia's got to get a little bit of credit. They still have some elite prime players in AJ Barnes and Kyson Carter. They got Wimbo there, so they're gonna have to watch out and see what they do as the year goes on. And of course, they have former Heisman and Ryan Brooks, but we're gonna leave that alone for now. AB, we'll talk more about Ryan as the season goes on. Let's go ahead and move to our next game, which is going to be Michigan against LSU. LSU, remember, finished CS2 as the lowest ranked team, 18th, below the now rebranded Cincinnati. Coming out here and making a statement win. This was hot seat coach against hot seat coach between Coach Anderson and Coach Diggs. And Coach Anderson comes out on top with his guys coming out and doing big things. Orlando Killian looked great. Trent Lacey did his thing at running back. And of course, we got to bring up Jamar Neymar with the 2 picks, 2 pass deflections, and a pick 6 to the house, which definitely gave LSU that momentum. The double turnovers for Duke Smith is really bad. I believe I can say that Coach Diggs is switching to Casey Parker, at least as of now. That's what I believe. Duke Smith immediately getting benched after that performance. Honestly, I don't really blame him. But we will have to see how Casey can come out and perform in week 2 for Michigan. AB, let me hear what you think. Is LSU on your watch list, or you think this was just Michigan's not that good this year and LSU just handled business at home?
I think they handle business at home, but poor Duke Smith. Poor Duke Smith. Like, genuinely. This kid's just been trying to do everything right behind the scenes and then just it's not working out. I don't even understand. It's sad, but nonetheless, yeah, it was an alright game. Not what I thought, but it was an alright game.
Did you think LSU was going to come out and win, or did you have Michigan for this one, if you don't mind me asking?
I had Michigan, but that was just because of the fact that I thought Casey Parker, for whatever reason, was still coming out to play.
Okay,
So I was
okay,
thinking Casey Parker was going to come out and do his thing. And then I knew Duke was there, but then I figured Duke would be better because of all the time he spent upgrading. And so I was
sure.
like, okay, Michigan's probably going to do what they're going to do here. But then, yeah,
But then LSU came and wrecked that party. So shout out Coach Anderson, 1 win away from securing his spot And meanwhile, Coach Diggs one loss away from potentially being replaced there in Michigan. So that's definitely a storyline we want to follow. Going into the next game, we have our first major upset. AB, the brand new Auburn Tigers, getting the huge victory over the third-seeded Miami Hurricanes, with the new QB and Christian Ross failing to deliver a win in his first start. Man, oh man, Nine Miller doing his thing, had a pick but had a touchdown. Honestly, a pretty low completion rate. It's got to be credit to the Tigers' defense, holding Miami to only 17 points and skirting out a victory in the very end. Final drive, I still remember watching minute 12 on the clock. Christian gets the ball, 3 timeouts, and Auburn holds them to an immediate 4 and out, changing the game, ending the game right there on the spot. Jaws did his thing, 12 yards a catch, but nothing too crazy stat-wise on either of these teams. What stands out to you about this massive upset, AB? How on earth did Auburn pull this one off, man?
Well, you know, people are gonna say it's because Christian Ross was playing, but
Yeah, of
Christian
course.
Ross didn't do that. Christian Ross didn't do bad at all. In fact, I'd say that he did better than Miller did as overall performance-wise if you look at the stat line.
Yeah,
But I didn't get to really watch how this game played out, so I'm not really sure how the score ended up going. But it's just one of those ones where congratulations to Coach George for what he's doing over there. I don't think Miami's bad, and so I think they just had a week one upset that came across them, and maybe some field goals got in the way of that. And yeah, they'll be fine.
yeah.
Both of them will be fine.
Yeah, I think so as well. I also want to give a huge shout out to Coach George. Being a new team coming in with a massive upset, 15-3 is huge. That might be up there with one of the biggest upsets we've seen in the PFL. So absolute shout out to Coach George. Did his thing, went out on the road and got the big victory. So with that, let's move on to our next game, which was a much closer contest. Although, if you ask CT, it was not. But Texas versus FSU started as a barn burner. Honestly, Texas started to go away with it for a while. FSU pulled back, but weren't obviously able to make a huge game out of it towards the end. Carlos Thompson with 3 touchdowns on the ground. He also had one through the air, even though it's not listed, so a total of 4 touchdowns. Looked like it was going to be the performance of the week until somebody decided to mess that up, which we'll get into here in a minute. But Texas, man, they look great, AB, honestly. I think Coach Nickerson went out and got the pieces he needed. I kept bringing it up during the broadcast, but Carlos had himself a hell of a game, and the pieces around him were able to contribute this time, which obviously is what was missing in CS2. So, how do we feel, AB? How are we feeling about Texas? To me, Texas is already looking like a top 3 team. I could see them shooting to 3rd in the rankings here.
Yeah, this game I was watching it. I think it was pretty contested for a while.
Yep.
I fell asleep towards the end of it, so I had to go back and find it and figure or see how it ended. But yeah, this game I think was contested for a while. Um, I don't I don't really have a lot to say about this game either, other than Texas. I've kind of figured was going to come out here and do something because Florida State's a brand new team, also in a way,
Yeah.
and so I don't think that Florida State's going to be the same as they were last year because Mays is a quarterback that we haven't seen before and probably won't see again because of the way that he was made.
Right.
And so I think Florida State just got the best that they got right now, and that just ended up coming up short. Texas is better. We know that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good take. Honestly, very well spoken there. I agree with basically everything you're saying. Honestly, this in the booth episode has just been you and me being like, "Yup." You can tell how much we're growing, AB, when our opinions start aligning more and more and more as our shows go on. But yeah, I think Florida State. Honestly, I think DJ looks really solid. I think they got themselves a monster at that QB spot. I know Coach Kappa is going to continue to game plan and make adjustments throughout the season. I don't think this means FSU is suddenly on some massive downturn. I just think Texas came out and did their thing and performed really well. and we're just seeing the results of Nickerson continuing to get better and hoping to deliver a title to the Longhorns. So, quick announcement on the last two games, guys. We don't have the results graphics yet, so we're just going to have the scores up, but obviously these are still very fresh in our minds, so it's easy to talk about. The first one, honestly, isn't easy for me to talk about. It hurts. It hurts my soul. This was an absolute smattering, a smackering, a slaughtering of Utah versus USC. I had exactly 0 to do with this final result, as I had approximately like 8 yards, I'm pretty sure. Did get a touchdown through the air, though. But when we're talking about the one guy that came in and did more than CT, is none other than Mr. Bo Sanders, who had 5 touchdowns, AB, in this game. Absolute monster performance out of Utah, coming in and clearly showing they deserve that number 1 spot. They are the team to beat. They are the scariest team. And due to some shenanigans with our sim engine, Mamadou wasn't even out there for half the defensive plays, and they still were able to shut down USC's offensive game with their all-new weapons. So, AB, I don't have a ton to say on this one. It breaks my heart how horrible we performed. Did you catch this game? What are your key takeaways outside of obviously hashtag block for Bo?
Yeah, shout out to Bo, I guess, for that performance. But I think USC wins this game 3 out of 5 times.
Yeah.
With the way that you can see you guys were getting to perform, it was it wasn't something that really displayed full potential, and so I think it was just an off game for you guys, and you'll bounce back. Mav already looks much better this year.
He does. Yes, I agree. He looks a lot better. I think. I think what Mav is able to do so far is an absolute big time level up for us. It. I don't know. It's tough. This was a tough one for sure. It's tough to swallow a loss like that, but a huge shout out to those Utah guys doing their thing, handling business, going out and getting the big victory. So that's all I have for that. Nothing but love for those guys, and they got to watch out because Utah are coming. They're coming, and I think we're going to see more and more of that as the year continues. So with that, let's jump to our final game, which I just called last night, and that's Oklahoma versus Tennessee. Tennessee scored.
I want to switch it up. I want to hear what you think about this first.
Oh, okay, fine. So my biggest takeaways from this game is Tennessee honestly looked really nice. They came out and scored right away early. Oklahoma was shut down early on. Their defense from Tennessee looked good, but ultimately OU's offense managed to figure things out, get it together, and just hang on. I feel like it was a lot of just hanging on to the lead. Remember, a key play, 4th and 5. Tennessee could have taken the field goal to make it 16-13 with about 4 minutes to play. Instead, they went for it, didn't convert, and then they didn't get the ball again. As you, Mr. Austin Briley and company, did a great job as the game went on at extending drives and controlling the clock, which I think was a key thing in a game like this where both teams seem to kind of start to stall out offensively. So my biggest takeaways, like I brought up in the pregame show, the halftime show, how your offense was gelling. In the first half, it really wasn't. It was very, hit or miss offensively, and you started to get it a lot more together come the second half. So I think OU is still one of my favorites. You guys don't have a ton of users, but you have a ton of talent in those users. And I feel like this score line shows, one, Tennessee is the real deal. Honestly, they had a chance up to the very end. And honestly, that the Sooners are going to figure it out. Coach Holt takes his craft very seriously, and I know he's going to continue to improve as the year goes on. So those are my biggest takeaways, to be honest. Now, as QB1, AB, for your new team, what are your biggest takeaways from your first game for the brand new team here with the Oklahoma Sooners?
It's a fantastic game plan in Tennessee for the way they shut down Deuce and all that. They had us scared for for a decent bit. none of us were happy with that performance after that game.
Yeah.
Um, you guys very much so. Even though you didn't win, you guys got into our heads and are still living there for a little bit. So, shout out to you guys for going in there and making it scary and making it interesting and making it fun. Other than that, you said a lot of the good stuff and the bread and butter. I don't have a lot to put on the takeaways of this other than it was just, it's not what you should expect from us.
Yeah.
And moving forward, hopefully things will be a lot more prevalent than this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, offensively, I feel like you guys cannot rely on only scoring 16 points a game. While you do have the Armani brothers and Jay George, which are all obviously excellent on the defensive side, your defense is lacking. And against those high explosive offenses, you cannot score 16 points and expect to win the game, honestly. We know the PFL, despite a few games this week being low scoring, most teams would have won against you here, right? If we look purely scores. So I think one of the biggest things you guys are going to have to focus on is just getting a better gel on offense. Getting why am I spacing this? TRP way more involved offensively. He had one catch. So figuring that out is going to be key. And just getting a little bit more explosive offensively when the ball's not really moving through deuce as efficiently. Figuring out, what you're going to do with that, I think will be key for you guys. So,
Shout out to Forbes too.
oh
That
yeah,
was a
for
hell of a
sure.
performance.
He won you the game. I mean, I said that in the broadcast, but I was like, this is the player of the game to me, which almost never happens. But we got a lot of tight end alerts this week for sure in the PFL, which you love to see. But let me go ahead and put that on the screen because we are at our last segment. So again, guys, hopefully in the future when we do this, we'll have the schedule ready. Just kind of, it's our first episode, still kind of sorting through things. But this last segment, for those who are new to In the Booth, is where we talk about the upcoming week. Usually, again, we'd have the schedule graphic, but this time we're just going to talk about who we think our key matchups are going to be, our key teams to watch, as we don't actually know who's playing who yet. So for us, at least what days, I guess. We kind of know who's playing who because we have the schedules out, but it's not a, which day are we picking. It's more just what matchups we want to see. So I think I'm going to be selfish here, AB. One team, of course, that I think is key to watch is going to be USC. See how we bounce back after that absolute slaughter we took from Utah. I think it's going to be very important that we come out strong and that we manage to, hopefully, come out and get a victory. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for us is going to be seeing that, watching that matchup, which I am currently blanking and I'm going to go find real quick. But I think that's going to be the biggest thing, just making sure that we can come back and perform. There we go, against UCLA. So on the road again against UCLA, I think it's going to be huge to see how we come out and perform. And the second marquee
Alley Bowl.
team, yeah, even though it's not a rivalry anymore because we have the Notre Dame rivalry now. But the second key team for me is honestly going to be Auburn. I want to see how Auburn performs going into week 2 after the massive upset. They're going to shoot up the rankings, and a lot more teams are going to be watching for them. So those are the two key teams for me going into week 2 that I'm excited to see play. What about you, AB? What are you looking forward to the most this week?
I think definitely our team. Well, I'm going to say both of my teams.
Okay.
So Florida, I want to do better, but we're going to have to see. And Oklahoma, the way I think about this last game was like the final battle in Squid Game. Like at the at the very very end, like we're both just on our last limbs and we barely got out of there. And so I don't want to see something like that ever again.
Right.
I'd rather just lose.
Yep. I feel that.
When three out of three of the experts pick us to win that game and we barely win that game, that's not okay.
No, that's very scary. Do you happen to have your schedule in front of you for either of those? Who do you have Florida's by chance? Who are you guys playing in week 2?
Um,
It should be in your team server if you do have it.
yeah.
If you don't, it's all right. It's not the end of the world. I'm just curious.
I think it's Auburn.
Oh,
No, it's LSU.
Okay, okay,
LSU.
okay. Yeah, that's gonna be big. That's super exciting. And Coach Anderson's gonna be trying to come in hot because again,
LSU and Notre Dame are the two
ooh,
teams that we
okay,
played this week.
okay. OU plays Notre Dame in week 2.
Uh
Oh,
huh.
oh man, that's gonna be game of the week. Holy crap, that's gonna be fun to watch. I hope we
That's
get.
why I was saying. Hopefully Zeke will be biased to not give
Uh
me
huh.
another Saturday game.
Uh huh. That's gonna be super exciting. I can't wait for
They're
that one.
so rough, John.
I know.
It's
I
so rough
know. I
having
know.
Saturday games, bro. I know, but remember last season when I kept
Yep.
getting Saturday games?
Yep. Put you in the waiting bin. But yeah, man, that's gonna wrap us. Honestly, super light episode, like we said. Hopefully, you guys like the new format. The main idea is just being able to actually talk about the previous week in depth without having this weird Monday night game looming. So kind of go into the week 2 with a fresh look. In the future, just so you guys know, obviously we'd love to have guests on the show. Get with Austin. And we can start planning those out. AB, I don't know if anyone's reached out yet. If you can announce who we're
Nope.
having, okay?
Well, I
So
will. I will. I'll announce that we're looking.
perfect,
They'll roll in.
perfect.
They
Yes.
always do.
So if you want to be on, get with
It'll
Austin.
probably be someone like J Pick or something like that.
Oh, I know he's ready. Get with Austin. We'll get you in here, and remember, moving forward, we'll have a little bit more graphics going on, and Austin will be cammed up as well. So we'll be able to talk about the actual schedule and the new rankings, typically. So we will see you guys next week. Austin, as always, I'll let you get the last word, but this has been John Smith in the booth. And thank you guys so much for rocking with us as we knock out this first episode of season 2.
Yeah, shout out to everybody that's keeping us going. Thank y'all for making this popular as you made it last year. I'm glad we're bringing it back for you, and we'll see you next time.